Climate change is wreaking havoc globally, with flooding being a devastating consequence. In Gombe State Nigeria, 2,517 houses and shops were destroyed and 1,000 hectares of farmland submerged, affecting 33 communities. Similarly, in Gombe State, 1,650 houses were destroyed, displacing 413 households. Flooding causes loss of livelihoods, property damage, and increased disease risk. On the impact of flooding on farmlands, SEMO reported that in a community in Yemol-Tudebo local government was the worst hit, with over 1,000 hectares of rice, maize, sorghum, and millet farmlands submerged in water. SEMO described the impact of the flooding as huge and devastating, and noted that farmers were preparing to harvest their crops when the flood occurred. On July 12, 2024, the Dadinkowa Dam overflowed, swallowing vast rice farmlands in Gombe State. What was once a thriving source of food and income is now a watery grave for crops, livestock, and livelihoods. This is not an isolated event, it's a recurring nightmare fueled by climate change. Behind every statistic is a human story. We spoke to those who lost everything in the floods. Their pain is a stark reminder of how climate change is not just about the environment, but about survival.
Kawai daga muka gargaruwa, ya zama mata gidanmu gaba daya. Yanzu daidai nan ɗaki na gaba daya banda wani ne na fita da shi.
Ruwa babu ya sa tsakiya ba ta inda za su fito, inda rabon mu gana kawai mu gana su kuma babu ruwa ya riga ya shiga wajen su.
To understand why these disasters keep happening, we turn to experts. Climate change is altering weather patterns, making floods and droughts more severe.
The presence of this element of weather in excess or otherwise is what gives the changes in weather. So when you say weather or climate and the change, for instance, let's take maybe Nigeria as an example. Nigeria has a certain weather. When you wake up in the morning, maybe you know, maybe as an individual, the amount of rainfall that we received in a year, the kind of the amount of solar radiation, the amount of wind and humidity, and what have you. So when you begin to notice changes in these elements of weather from what you used to know, something different. So the climate has started changing. So from there, from what we used to know to something different, we can say that the climate has changed.
For farmers in Gombe, this means their once predictable growing seasons are now a gamble.
My size of the farm is 2 hectares. That is 200 ridges. Yes, it's belonged to me. Before, I used to cultivate millets and beans, due to that it has easy way of cultivation. It does not need more fertilizer. That's why I used to do that kind of cultivation, because of the easy way of cultivating that crops.
Da kam riban dai bai shigi na rufin asiri ba. In mukan yi haɗu mu yi abun duka ƙungiyan ne. To abun baya kai mu raba in mun yi shi, ba mu taɓa raba riba ba sai a shekara muke.
On the other hand, deforestation happens to be another disaster fueling climate change. Grazing reserves are areas set aside for the use of pastoralists and are intended to be the focus of livestock development. For decades, the Wawazengi Grazing Reserve has been the lifeline for pastoralists in northern Gombe, providing the needed ecosystem for animal husbandry.
We used to impound trucks of the woodcutters. Their activities will cause desert encroachment and flooding in the forest.
hamada kuma zai jawo mana tafkunanmu zai jawo mana irin ambaliyar ruwan nan.
Cutting down trees has been our problem for a long time. People use the wood for cooking and they also make charcoal. We normally track the perpetrators.
But the one last reserve is now being encroached by people in search of woods. This encroachment is causing a massive deforestation of the 140,000 hectares. Nigeria's energy crisis is worsening living conditions, with many households turning to firewood for their everyday needs. This trend, according to environmentalists, will have negative impact on the ecosystem.
Cutting down of trees continuously has resulted to a situation whereby the soil, by the time we receive rainfall from the Almighty Allah, will absorb the percentage that of its own sequestering capacity, and we'll find ourselves in a situation whereby we don't have that green cover to absorb that much remaining percentage that need to be absorbed by those covers, trees inclusive. That is why we are having continuous challenges of flood disaster. You have greater portion of water going as runoff instead of the negligible percentage of it.
The Gombe State government has embarked on a reforestation drive by planting 4 million trees through the Gombe Goes Green project. However, the deforestation activities in the Wawazenge Grazing Reserve remains a threat to the survival of pastoralists in the state. While nature plays its part, human actions or inactions are making things worse. We asked the political analyst what role leaders and communities must play to combat this crisis.
The government should expedite action to make sure that through the Ministry of Environment, compliance is enforced by the government. Because seriously, this issue of climatic change is affecting the society in so many ways, especially flooding that is, leading to collapse of buildings and destroying of farm produce, leading to shortage of food, which resulted into food security in the societies. So this effort that is being made sometime, or that was being made as a policy by United Nations and many other organizations and agencies that are protecting the environment, will make sure that people are more educated to be aware of the negative consequences and implications of violating these rules and regulations that is threatening the environment.
In a deeply religious society like Gombe, faith leaders wield immense influence. Yet, some still dismiss climate change as divine will. We spoke to Christian and Muslim clerics about the moral duty to protect our environment.
You see, God has given us the earth to take care of it. God has given us the authority to take care of every environment, and He has given it under the supervision of man. And man is supposed to take care of the earth, but there is a misconception today. Man himself has violated the laws of God by not taking care of what God has given him. As you started saying, you see, these drainages were meant to allow water to pass through. But it's the same man that will go to these drainages and put all their dumps, they made it their dustbin. They pour all kind of rubbish inside to block the passage of the water freely. You see, man is a man-made creation. Man created it himself.
People should avoid misconception and mystical beliefs that are not in any way scientifically proven. That it is nature, it is divine, it is a punishment by God, whatever. No, it is our practices. What we are doing with our hands, blocking waterways, dumping refuse that are blocking culverts, creating so many problems. People should know that ethical practices, following the regulations, doing what is the needful, that is the way out, and not this misconception or these mystical charms that this is that. This cannot be explained because there are areas that such is not happening because they are taking precaution. You hardly, for example, here in Gombe or in any part of a town in northern Nigeria, you hear a story of a plot in areas that are government residential areas, hardly, no matter the level of the downpour. Why is it that it is always obtained in slums, in areas that are overpopulated? Because in the course of planning and designing, we block many waterways. We created so many blockages that are not allowing the water to pass easily as it wants. That is why we should believe that it is our own handy practice that is causing it and not any myths.
Despite the devastation, hope remains. We asked affected communities what they believe must be done to build resilience against future disasters.
Honestly, we are facing severe consequences of climate change, especially to our livelihoods. I don't have means of living. I lost my farm and properties.
Yana rushewa. Yanzu kuma da aka zo aka yi kwarin nan, za mu bi da mashuna, za mu bi da motoci, za mu bi da kafa, babu wani gargada, babu komai.
Experts agree that adapting farming practices is key to surviving climate change. Here's what agricultural specialists recommend for Gombe farmers.
General public and even policymakers will take in order to mitigate this impact of climate change on our population is nothing but for now, smart agriculture, or what is called e-farming or digital agriculture. For instance, acquiring early maturing or even extra early maturing varieties that will be able to grow in areas that are receiving lesser amount of rainfall from what they used to have. So these early maturing or extra early maturing varieties will grow in the limited amount of rainfall received in an area that used to receive higher rainfall.
The fight against climate change requires action at all levels, from policymakers to everyday citizens. Here's what must change to secure Gombe's future.
If the government did not take a robust action to stop, certain activities, definitely the situation will continue degenerating and escalating. And it is a very serious threat to the environment.
But what effort is Gombe State government making to combat the impact of climate change? Our Crystal project is one of the initiatives put in place to mitigate the impact.
These are people whose life was at a level that you're feeling the government is not concerned about your own well-being, but were transformed to better. Were transformed to the level that they don't think in a very near future their life will be improved. The living condition, the security, the social development of the area will be changed. A lot of stories that were negative to that particular location are now no more. These are people, if you could have opportunity to interface with, which I would want to believe in this kind of engagement you are having with us, you must have come across numerous number of them sharing with you their stories, where they were before the coming of Akrisel, where they were before the coming of His Excellency. Numerous number of roads were constructed under the Network 1100 project of Governor Muhammadu Inuwahaya, which Akrisel match and construct this 21-kilometer stormwater drains.
But most importantly, has this project yielded any impact? Affected residents have something to say.
What is believed to be the concept of leadership is 1, to bring development to the people, 2, to carry the people along, and 3, to cater for the people.
Ina fargaba, ina tunanin ya za su dawo daga makaranta ko in mun dawo daga aikin da za mu shiga gidajen mu. Da idan kana kusa da korin nan, matanka za ta aihu, kana tunani in za ta tafi, in za ta aihu ya za a yi asibiti ya kai ta asibiti. Abun ya faru da mu da ni lokacin da wani lokaci da aka zo iyalina za ta aihu, gashi mun kawo nafe ba da za a yi shiga kwari saboda kwari, mun kawo nafe ba da za a yi shiga kwari.
Flooding and drought pose significant threats to food security, economic growth, and livelihoods. These disasters can lead to loss of lives, diseases, and poverty. Many foodstuff sellers have been adversely affected, highlighting the need for sustainable solutions to mitigate the impacts of climate change and ensure economic stability and food availability.
In the past, things were going smoothly. But with the reoccurrence of droughts and floods, there is always a shortage of rice in the market, which cause inflation. Sometimes I used to buy 30 to 60 bags of rice, but not anymore.
Goods are very expensive and there is a shortage. This is a result of the climate change impacts we are experiencing.
Floods causing inflation. Sometimes we face shortage of rice import in the market due to the severe consequences of climate change. My concern is inflation. We don't have much profit, I believe. It is due to the climate change impact.
The floods may keep coming, but Gombe's resilience runs deeper. With united action from leaders to farmers, clerics to youth, there's hope yet. The time to act is now.